ball with no problem.
Maybe later on we can get an isolated camera on that matchup because Susie is tightening up on his marking on Ahern.
There's a push on Susie.
The danger in that is with this wet footing is that if he lunges or if he goes for a deke that Ahern may throw at him, then Ahern's in clear. Eric Weisberg, the stopper back for Fall Mountain, taking the restart. Weisberg, an exchange student from Sweden.
It's right in the area, very dangerous position. Ball still bouncing around within the 6-yard line and is now cleared out. Fall Mountain continuing to attack. Opportunity to bring that ball down and control it. We'll go back to the other way with a push on Guilford. So here's an offensive possibility and a scoring opportunity for Fall Mountain. The Wildcats have shown good composure here early. They've created some possibilities there, especially that ball bouncing around the 6-yard line moments ago.
As a coach, that's the one thing you don't want to see your defense do is let that ball land in the 18. That ball should have been headed out. The Guilford defense should have been going to that ball more aggressively.
Westberg once again right into the area. It's cleared out by a Guilford head. And they try to control the ball about 35 yards from goal. Guilford now trying to break out with 26 minutes and 24 seconds left in the first half. At this point, let's go to a commercial break. We'll be back in just a moment.
You may think we're just a little early, but think again. Because the event you've been waiting for, the one we've been hinting about, is here. So forget the calendar and those silly New Year's resolutions and say cheers. Because it's time. Time for Grapponi Toyota's year-end blowout. Save now on all 1994 Toyotas in stock. The lowest prices, the biggest selection, only at Grapponi Toyota, where you'll pay less or you'll travel the world. Almost forgot. Happy New Year.
Welcome back to Memorial Field. So far, the score is 0-0. Fall Mountain and Guilford matched up in this Class M Boys Soccer Championship. I'm Bob Max along with John Mitchell. And John, so far...
Bob, we're going to have our first card of the contest. I'll be honest with you, I didn't see it as an intentional type of foul, but the yellow card went out to, let's see, we're going to pick up the number here. I think it's...
Well, let's take a close look here. We have an instant replay of the foul, which happened in midfield, which warranted this yellow card. With a loose ball...
They're going to call it on Nate Smith. Well, okay, he was late coming in on that. Okay, the replay shows that.
So a flagrant foul, a yellow card. Now, the ruling with this, a yellow card is a warning. How many yellow cards before a player is disqualified?
2 yellow cards and the player is out. And under NHIA rules on that yellow card, the player who is carded has to leave the contest. He can go back on the next substitution.
Okay, so number 23... has been removed from the game temporarily. That is Nate Smith.
Nate Smith, yes.
Yeah, so Nate Smith gets the first yellow card of the match. Now, if perchance Smith was yellow carded again, Fall Mountain plays with just 9 players in the field.
They would have 9 field players, 10 total. Bob, there may have been a second yellow card. I'm not sure if there was a bench yellow card, but as we were just watching that replay, I saw another yellow card being flashed out there. I'm not sure if that was a bench yellow card or to someone... perhaps one of the coaches on the Fall Mountain staff.
Patrick Little will be looking into that, and we'll have a report on that in just one moment. Right now we have a goal kick for Charlie Bailey of Fall Mountain. Here's Fall Mountain back the other way. Jesse Bear with some fine pressure there. A great individual effort along the right side here. Jesse Beer, the second leading scorer for the Wildcats, with Chris Ahern, the leading scorer for the team from Fall Mountain.
Only a sophomore. His brother is the senior sweeper back. Both Beer players contributing a lot to Fall Mountain's success this year.
And there's a push on the Guilford defender. Now Ahern quickly over this direct kick from about 35 yards away. Trying to become a little bit more involved in the attack for the Wildcats is Chris Ahern, their leading scorer with over 30 goals this year. Get a foot on that one. We have a loose ball about the 18-yard line. Fall Mountain controlling it. Played out to E.J. Adams. Adams' cross is deflected and cleared by the Guilford defense. The Golden Eagles showing some pretty solid defense so far as we remain 0-0. Here's a break, though. The goalie well out. Collette well off his line. Ball's played back into the area, and Collette makes a great diving save on that follow-up. We have an instant replay of this one. Collette way off his line. Very aggressive goaltending style.
Again, it looked like Guilford was pulling like an offside on that. We'll see it now on the replay. Helped by his defense. I think it was number 22, Zach Derbyshire, clearing that away, helping out defensively.
And there's a great diving save on the follow-up shot from number 2 for Fall Mountain, which is Scott Bingham, with that fine left-footed shot that Collette had to dive and lunge for to save that from being a goal. So here's Fall Mountain right back on the attack. Number 4, Dan Stevens, through the midfield, loses the ball, but number 10, Jesse Beer, fouling up and then tripped from behind, creating yet another opportunity here for the Wildcats. They seem to be controlling the tempo for the last 10 minutes or so, John.
They're causing Guilford to create these fouling situations. You can't keep giving your opponent opportunities like this down in your defensive third. They come back to haunt you eventually.
The ball bouncing around the Guilford area quite frequently so far in this first section of the first half of play.
We're seeing a little bit of a similarity to what we saw against Hinsdale in the first half when Hinsdale really high-pressured the Guilford defense. Guilford defenders seem to be back on their heels a bit. They've got to get their offense generated. They just can't keep defending continually.
They did indeed have a slow start Thursday night in that semifinal match, which they did come back and win, take control in the second half of that 2-1 victory over Hinsdale. But as you mentioned, you're right, they're back on their heels playing rather tentatively so far in this championship match. This will be a goal kick now for Guilford, almost a corner kick, which would have created yet another scoring situation for the Wildcats. So now the Golden Eagles will try to break out of their funk that they're in so far in this game, with a substitution coming in for Guilford, that being number 12, who'll be attacking up the right side.
That is Curtis Sleeper coming in for Chris Keenan.
Play continues to be primarily in the Fall Mountain end. Fall Mountain come in playing, not to get too technical with their formation, but a 4-4-2 with 4 defenders, 4 midfielders, and 2 attack. The 2 attackmen being Ahern and Beer on the front for Fall Mountain.
Fall Mountain has kept the ball down in the Guilford half for the last 5 minutes. Guilford's going to have to do something to change the tempo, because we talked about controlling the tempo of the game. Fall Mountain now is taking control of that tempo.
Guilford continuing to have to come up with defensive stops here.
See, the thing is, Bob, is that Guilford's style isn't just to kick the ball. They've got to look to pass the ball, to get the ball to their midfielders, and build up that way. This kick the ball long and hope and pray type of soccer isn't Guilford's style of play.
A couple of substitutes in now for Fall Mountain, including number 11, Chad Filton, or Fillion. Chad Fillion in for the Wildcats. We'll try to catch up on that other substitute in just a moment. Patrick Little, if you're with us, with that yellow card situation on number 23, Nate Smith, was there also a bench yellow given?
Yeah, Bob, there was. Nate Smith received the yellow card, as did one of the assistant coaches. I just want you to take a look at one thing. Check out the Fall Mountain bench. They're all standing, perhaps a little bit inexperienced with this championship atmosphere. Over here on the Guilford side, everyone's sitting down, relaxed, calm. Could be a little bit of tension. They could be nervous over here. They're all standing, very enthusiastic, though. Back to you guys.
Yeah, show of enthusiasm there. The Fall Mountain team is standing throughout this match, and actually, when it's time for substitutions, they may actually be a little bit warmer and staying on their feet and moving around, because it is a cold, damp day here at Memorial Field.
Well, Coach Pinkham's team may be sitting down somewhat calmly, but Dave is certainly pacing the sidelines up and down, yelling out instructions to his team.
Yeah, the longtime coach of the Golden Eagles knows how to win championships. That's no doubt about that. And he's got his team here once again looking for their 8th straight. Once again, play in the midfield has been dominated so far by the Wildcats of Fall Mountain. Here's Ahern with a fine ball up the left side, but Collette comes off his line and smothers that one. Collette with a strong foot. Let's see if he can get the Guilford offense into motion here. Sending this punt some 50 yards. Well, kind of shanked that one, kind of on
command. It's actually falling short this side of the face-off circle.
Loose ball down the left side. Looks like we have a substitute, number 16, now in for Guilford, and that would be Shane Truax, a new left attackman for the Golden Eagles. Fall Mountain throwing right around midfield. At this point, we're at 18:35 left in the first half of action. When it comes down to the end of the half and at the end of regulation, the clock will stop at 2 minutes, and we'll have to deal with the time, the official time being kept by the referee on the field. So that'll be something that we'll have to kind of feel out as it happens with 2 minutes left in the half. Right now, we have some 18:18 left. First half action 0-0 with Guilford and Fall Mountain At this point, we'll be back after this short commercial break. Stay with us, folks. Class M Boys Soccer Championship action here on WMUR TV.
17-point oil change? Ma'am?
Some competitors will do anything to uncover Grease Lightning's secret. When will they realize there is no secret? Just the great service you expect from New Hampshire's oil change specialist. In only 10 minutes, they'll replace your oil with quality Pennzoil motor oil. Check and fill all major fluids, even vacuum your car's interior. So if you're in search of a secret, discover the secret to your car's long life with the performance, protection, quality of Pennzoil and Grease Lightning.
We're back at Rain Soggy Memorial Field in Concord, New Hampshire. I'm Bob Max along with John Mitchell. This is Class M Boys Soccer Championship with the Golden Eagles of Guilford looking for their 8th straight state championship against the Wildcats of Fall Mountain. And so far, Fall Mountain is taking the game to the Golden Eagles.
We talked about setting the tempo of the game. The Guilford had to do it. They certainly haven't done it so far in this first half. Bob, the rains have returned. I think they're going to be, the rain conditions on the field become more and more a factor as this game progresses. The footing seems to be getting a little slippery out there. Those players who are wearing the screw-ins are certainly going to have an advantage over players wearing the molded cleats.
Yeah, coming up in just a moment, Patrick Little will have a look at some of the different shoes that the players can utilize here, especially with the wet conditions. Memorial Field used all season long by Concord High School, of course, and during the playoffs by a variety of schools with the playoff action. So that's down the center of the field. You can see that the grass has been worn off, and that'll become extremely slippery and muddy as the afternoon wears on.
We have some subs coming in for Guilford. Chris Keenan is re-entering the contest, and joining him is the other starting forward, Kevin Rankins.
So a quick, maybe to get their composure, take a
I'm
quick
sure
breather.
Dave was talking to him probably a little bit about strategy of what he wants them to do to help get control of this game.
In the midfield, Ahern with a fine ball down the right side. Dan Gill over to shut that one down, though, for Guilford. A solid sweeper back for the Golden Eagles is Dan Gill. All season long, they've looked to him to really be the anchor of the defense. But allowing him to turn there, number 22, Darby Line allowed the Fall Mountain attacker to turn quite easily from 18 yards from goal. That's a dangerous situation.
We're seeing, as I said, we're seeing the Guilford defense do some things that they normally wouldn't do. We saw a header that was low in their own end just a second ago. We saw, as you said, the sweeper back win the ball, then kick it out of bounds when he could have passed it to a teammate. They've got to play their game, which they haven't been doing so far.
Okay, down the right side with Northrup, the right defender. Here's a chance for Cesati as he tries to work the ball. But it seems like every time Guilford turns to try to attack, there's several maroon jerseys they're dealing with. So Fall Mountain getting back on defense very quickly. Now here's Ahern with a run down the right side. Great ball control. He has wonderful control of the ball. He had number 6 almost on a run there down the right side. Didn't see him, though.
Some good moves, but I think one move too many. His teammates have to come and give him support, do little give and goes, a little exchanges that way. They can't expect him to do the whole thing alone.
Pretty to watch, but not always effective, that's for sure. But he does have wonderful skills for a high school soccer player at this level.
In the first half against Co Brown, they were asking him to do too much alone. They've got to play off him. Someone has to come support him when he wins the ball to give him different options that way.
It's easy for his mates to fall into that because he has scored 30 goals this year, some 75 in his career. So he's definitely a very skilled player, and they can sometimes stand and watch, and they have to try to avoid that during the course of the day today. Here's a Guilford throw in right into the area. They'll try to flick it on to the man who runs toward the throw, and will try to flick the ball and create an offensive opportunity. Here's Ahern, though, one-on-one, working on Susi. This is the matchup we'll be watching all day long. Ahern sends it toward the right post, but not really a shot there.
Guilford's playing very dangerously when they're allowing one-on-one coverage on Ahern. If you see with Fall Mountain swarming on the Guilford players, you'll see it now. You got one-on-one coverage. He's got to have help. You've got to double team a player like that. You can't expect one person to shut him off.
That wasn't exactly a quick counter either, but at that point they had numbers. They had 3-on-3, and in soccer that can be a very dangerous situation. Not really a good shot, though, by Ahern. Didn't get a solid foot on it. Just under 14 minutes left. First half action here at Class M Boys Soccer Championship with Guilford looking for their 8th straight championship, and they're run up against a very enthusiastic Fall Mountain team. Here's Gill, the sweeper back, heads the ball out of danger, and Du Bois, a team leader here, number 24, loses the 50-50 ball in the midfield, and Fall Mountain counters with a harmless ball into the area on the left side. Collette off his line. He'll try to punt this toward the attacking number 19, Chris Keenan, and number 21, Kevin Rockins. Here's Du Bois from fine footwork down the right side. You can see it's getting awfully slippery over there. You saw the Fall Mountain defenseman slide in very similar fashion to a baseball player, but you see the mud kick up as the pitch is getting awfully wet here at Memorial Field.
Scott, I'm ready.
A little surprised, John, the fact that Guilford has yet to really get anything going on offense. They haven't tested Charlie Bailey at all here in this first half.
This is very similar to what we saw against Hinsdale, where Hinsdale has set the tempo. They got Guilford sort of ball watching, not doing the typical Guilford types of things that you see from a Guilford team.
Very hardy crowd of several hundred here at Memorial Field, and they're standing in a pretty solid downpour right now. Joining some folks in the crowd is Patrick Little. Pat?
Well, I'm down here in the stands with the Beer parents, and it's got to be exciting for you having two sons in this final game.
Oh, it's great.
Dad?
It's a lot of fun. Our good fortune.
Tell me what went on last night in the Beer house, a little indoor soccer in the garage to get excited and prepared here, or what?
Yeah, saying our soccer prayers.
In your soccer prayers. Well, some wishful thinking from parents down here. Back to you guys up there.
Thank you very much, Pat. Fall Mountain continuing to control the play here, though, and I'm sure the Beer family is happy to see that happening. So once again, here's Fall Mountain with a throw-in from number 23, Nate Smith, back after that yellow card. Headed out of bounds by Tom Moore. It's hard to get these guys to identify them because their hair it's all chopped the same. These reverse mohawks that Guilford is sporting on this championship. Here's a ball, a dangerous ball into the area, headed toward goal. Ball sitting at the 6-yard line. Very dangerous indeed. It is cleared out by Guilford, but not many times you see a player turn with the ball at his feet on the 6-yard line. Let's take a close look at the replay here. Very close to goal for Fall Mountain.
What you're going to see the defender commit really a cardinal sin. He's turning in towards his own goal. That ball should have been turned out away from your goal mouth.
And cleared harmlessly away, but he was awfully fortunate that Fall Mountain didn't come with another attacker there as he turned right toward his own goalie. I'm sure Chris Collette looked at him and said, "What are you doing?" Here's Guilford with an attack down the left side. It goes out of bounds. So right now, with 10:50 left in the first half, it's time for a commercial break. We'll be back with more Class M boys soccer in just a moment.
The previous vehicles that I drove were two-seater sports cars, but at one point they became too small for our family, and at that point we decided to look at a Volvo. Being in the insurance business, I realized that the premiums would be less on the Volvo due to the safety features. I don't recall how we originally ended up at Volvo of Nashua. That was about 5 Volvos ago, but we keep coming back.
Time and time again, Fall Mountain has been applying all sorts of offensive pressure on the Guilford defense, and during the commercial break, no goals scored, but more offensive opportunities for the Wildcats of Fall Mountain.
I think psychologically, the longer this game stays 0-0, it's to the advantage of Fall Mountain. They're the sort of, in a sense, the underdogs, and they're getting their confidence more and more. And we'll see what happens with the psychology of who scores the first goal.
Yeah, Ahern's support, his 10 other mates on the field, definitely gaining confidence with the way this game has gone so far. We're talking about Chris Ahern, the leading scorer for the Wildcats, number 12, and we'll, of course, continue to watch him carefully during the course of this championship match. So far, it's been Mike Susi who's been matched up one-on-one with Ahern, and we'll see how that match continues.
We may be setting a new record here this afternoon for the most throw-ins in the first half of a championship game. I'm not sure if it's just nerves or the wet conditions or what, but an awful lot of throw-ins.
It could definitely be difficult with a muddy surface like Memorial Field is quickly turning into to try to play a controlled, even offensive attack. It can be tricky as it is awfully slick out there.
I think we're going to see Coach Dave Pinkham telling his team at halftime to, hey, guys, this is a repeat of what we saw Thursday night. Let's come out in the second half and, play Guilford type of soccer, use our midfielders more.
I'm sure he'll have the right things to say. He certainly did come up with
he made the adjustments
night.
the other night.
Collette much more solid coming off his line that time than we saw early in the match. He got his body right behind that one and came off aggressively from his line.
Likewise, I'm sure Jim Brunell is going to be very happy with the way things have gone so far. He's going to be telling his kids, to keep the pressure on Guilford, not to ease up. And if they score first, certainly not to fall into the trap that Hinsdale did after they scored their first goal, where they sort of sat back and tried to protect it. Fans reacting to that call. The Fall Mountain faithful not feeling that should have been called in Guilford's favor.
Yeah, Zach Derbyshire almost reached out. It seemed like he wanted to touch that ball as he was having trouble containing the Fall Mountain attacker there. But the Fall Mountain attacker called for the push. Midfield action. Another run for Fall Mountain down the left side. Collette off his line. Oh, pretty solid collision there, but no harm done.
Well, I think the referee came over maybe to verbally give a little bit of a caution, then changed his mind on that. We'll see it now in the replay. Yeah, a little bit of a late slide on that. Give him the benefit of the doubt with the wet conditions.
Luckily for Collette, the foot caught him in the shoulder and not the head. It was an awfully close call there. That can be a very dangerous situation for the goaltender when he comes off his line and the attackmen are running at him at such pace, and especially with the slippery conditions. Seen a lot of injuries happen. That's what makes a goalie, though.
I think sometimes that's also a psychological move so that the next time Chris Collette comes out, he's thinking about that slide.
Definitely can be a dangerous situation. But goalies have to have the guts, and they certainly have to show it in situations like that.
Some of my colleagues have said goalies have to have no brains, but I wouldn't go that far. I think guts sounds a heck of a lot better.
Guilford once again retreating with Dan Gill on the far sideline. Ball goes out of bounds. It'll be a goal kick for the Golden Eagles.
Bob, I just want to bring up one point of having watched New Hampshire soccer and been involved in New Hampshire soccer for so many years. I think what we're seeing with both sides, we're not seeing the mass substitutions that you used to see in the old days, where it was almost like hockey. You had different lines going in. There's been some key substitutions back and forth, but your starting 11 basically is still out there and playing the whole game.
Now Patrick Little's down. He's trying to fend off this now torrential downpour which is falling. Patrick, what do you got for us?
Well, thank God for umbrellas, big golf umbrellas. It is pouring down here now. So far, the grass is holding. It's not very puddly, so it's still wearing the spiked cleats, not the molded ones. I'll get a cleat for you later on to show you the difference. But right now, I just want to say one thing about the goaltender, Chris Collette. Most goaltenders are very vocal. Chris is sitting back here. He's kind of taking things in here. He hasn't said much. I've been standing here about 5 minutes. With 6 minutes left, I got to give the edge to Fall Mountain in the midfield. What do you think, guys?
Definitely. They've controlled the midfield, and as you can see in this close-up shot of Collette, it is an absolute downpour. But, John, Patrick makes a good point there that goalies can usually be the leader of the defense.
So I think one of the problems when you have a sophomore goalkeeper, no matter how good he is, he's still out there with seniors, with upperclassmen. That may be one of the reasons why he's a little bit more quiet.
Got to communicate. A very important part of soccer is communication, and got to have that, especially in the defensive half. There's a push on, I believe, a substitute for...
It's actually going the other way. They're calling a charge, I think, on Guilford.
Okay. So
Fall Mountain's getting the restart.
It looked like Westburg might have pushed, but they got away with that one, and there's a ball played in by Nate Smith. Ball rolls harmlessly. You don't usually see that. Ball just goes all the way through the whole penalty area without being touched after that kick-in by Nate Smith.
The Guilford defenders are sort of freezing when the ball's coming in. One person's going to play the ball. Someone else has to drop in behind to give you what they call defensive depth, and we're not seeing it. That could prove to be costly with these weather conditions.
Speaking of the weather conditions, as the field gets wetter and even more slippery, the more offensive opportunities you have, the better chance of a defensive miscue, and the more pressure Fall Mountain puts on. You could think the odds are that a mistake could happen, and they could indeed get a tally here to put them up in this championship game. Guilford's put on little or no pressure so far.
As a coach, you'll be telling your team, any place near the edge of the 18, take a shot. With these wet conditions, the ball can do some funny things. And Fall Mountain is taking the shots. Guilford really hasn't generated much of an offense in this first half.
And that, of course, usually in the game of soccer, you have to look at the midfield. And yes, Fall Mountain has dominated the midfield with Scott Bingham and Dan Stevens and Ahern coming back to help. Here's an opportunity for Guilford now as the ball's played out of bounds by Eric Westberg. And it'll be a Guilford throw-in on the far side. They seem to be in no hurry to get that throw-in. They're trying to get some offensive support. We have 4:01 now, 4 minutes left in the first half.
That's Sean Reynolds taking the throw, and he showed a very long throw Thursday evening against Hinsdale. Let's see what he can do now in the wet conditions.
Try to play it into the area and look for what they call a head flick, or to play the ball through to another offender who can possibly get a shot on goal. Here's another dangerous situation, though, with Ahern making a run. He's taking on 2 Guilford defenders, but he's done that all his entire career.
Yep. Ahern just called for a foul. Rammed into the Guilford player.
Tom Moore playing the ball in the midfield, and it's offside. So an offsides trap put on there by Fall Mountain. If we could possibly get an instant replay of this one, because you can see the Fall Mountain defenders step up as the ball is played by Moore. Interesting defensive tactic to try to keep Guilford on their heels.
They pulled up quickly enough to catch the Guilford forwards offside. You see on the far right side there, the Guilford player who was way off on the kick. That is called on the kick.
Mm-hmm. So offside's called there on Guilford. For folks that are familiar with soccer, offsides is different with every sport, in football or in hockey. In this case, as the ball is played, the offenders have to be where?
You have to have one of your opponents between you and the goal, basically, to simplify it. Just have another yellow card. It looks like it was to Chris Keenan.
Number 19, Chris Keenan, did pick up the yellow card there.
I didn't see what the infraction was. Perhaps we have that on a replay. Well, they're saying they took him down from behind. That's a sort of a far shot as far as the camera angle.
It looked like the Fall Mountain player was trying to shield Keenan off as the ball was going out of bounds, and Keenan went for it. Well, it looked like he went for the ball, but he got a lot of body and took the player down. A lot of times the player will shield the player to try to let the ball go out of bounds and get the throw in. Instead, now it's a direct kick right into the area, and now played out as Moore and Sean Reynolds try to build something down that right side. Here's Moore down the right side. Ball goes out of bounds. Guilford throw in. It's a little tough to pick up the uniform numbers on that far side as the uniform is starting to get soiled here by the muddy conditions and the wet conditions at Memorial Field. We have 2:19 left in the first half. The official time being kept by the officials on the field. So we'll watch carefully here as the first half of action winds down. Ball bouncing in the air. It'll go out of bounds. Actually played by the Fall Mountain defender. I think there's Eric Westberg back there. Clears the ball up to the midfield. No attackman around for Fall Mountain. Ball played in. Players are on sides here. A run down the right side.
We just saw where you can live or die by the offside trap, as we say in the coaching circles, and we saw Fall Mountain almost die by that offside trap. It's great when it works, but boy, you can get burnt big time when they shoot through on you and get that scoring opportunity with your defenders pulling out and the other team's forwards running in.
Fall Mountain turns away Guilford there, folks. We'll be back with more Class M soccer in just a moment.
These homes are part of a new development in southern New Hampshire, and they use clean-burning natural gas. In fact, when natural gas is available, more than 80% of all new homes constructed in the Granite State choose it. Natural gas is a versatile resource that is used daily for cooking, heating water, drying clothes, as well as providing heat and enjoyment. If you'd like to join the more than 50,000 in New Hampshire who use natural gas, call Energy North Natural Gas today. Clean, reliable natural gas. America's best energy value.
We're back at Memorial Field. Just under 2 minutes now left in the first half action of this Class M Soccer Championship. And over the last 5 or 6 minutes, it looks like Guilford has, well, it's unsustained. They have had some offensive attack here. They look to be going both ways.
Territorially, Guilford certainly is starting to penetrate a little bit into the Fall Mountain defensive third, but they're not really doing as much creatively as they should. They're getting the ball down there, but they're not doing the things they should be doing with the ball once they get down there.
We saw just moments ago a ball played into the area. Ball played into the area where goalie Chris Collette came off his line, and you could see the ball almost slide out of his hands. Let's take another look at this offensive opportunity for Guilford as they now starting to get some opportunities with less than a minute left here in first half action. So let's now take you back to this offensive opportunity.
That's Jeff Sanborn, the senior forward going in, running into a Fall Mountain player, not getting the shot off.
Solid defense put on by the Wildcats. Back the other way, a long clear in, and as Chris Collette came off his line, he fell to all fours as it's getting extremely slippery out here. Here's another opportunity now for Guilford. Shot just wide by number 21, Kevin Rockins. So Rockins with another opportunity forward for Guilford. Here's the shot.
That's Kevin Rankins with a right-footed shot that sort of skims on the ground. That's the danger in this type of wet conditions. That ball is going to skim. You're not going to get a